So for the second field trip assignment, unfortunately I wasn't able to make it on the Art Institute trip, so instead I decided to head over to the Spurlock Museum in Urbana. The first section I went into was the American Indian and South American peoples, where they had this huge display of tribal ceremonies and these beautiful artworks that were hand drawn. And I just particularly love this style with the marker and pen. They also had a table where you could like touch and feel items of this culture. And they had this huge triptych painting, which was beautiful. They had everything from pottery to woven baskets. They even had handmade musical instruments, including this huge xylophone. They also had this intricate Morenata costume from Bolivia. The next section I headed into was African and Middle Eastern cultures, and this included stuff from Mesopotamia, like this carved stone from the Kingdom of Ur. They also had a replica of the Rosetta Stone, which I've never actually seen before. They had an actual sarcophagus, which was awesome, and another xylophone that I was able to play around with. They even had this really intricately carved African sculpture, which I thought was super cool. Next, we headed over to European cultures. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't super excited about this one. I'm getting really tired of hearing about European history, to be honest. But they did have some mannequins with armor on them, which I thought were really interesting. They're very intricate, and I especially liked the last one, which had some really funny shoes. They also had this giant Torah scroll from Italy, which was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be and really interesting to see. But then I headed over to Asian cultures, and this exhibit I particularly liked because a lot of the artifacts were a lot bigger than in the other exhibits, especially the giant mythical lion used in Bali's dance dramas. They also had Muslim-inspired brass teapots from the Philippines, and I was really excited to see the terracotta soldiers from the tomb of the first emperor. They had a lot of wood carving sculptures, especially I loved the sculpture of these goldfish. They also had a fish, and I mean they had a lot of wood carvings. Next I moved on to the Mediterranean cultures, which was mostly ancient Greek, and this exhibit was beautiful. All the white and marble. The replicas of these sculptures were so detailed, and I never really realized how big they were until seeing them in person. Like this sculpture, Laocoon's Punishment, was amazing to see in person. They also had replicas of boats from back in the day, which were cool to see, and a ton of replica friezes, like a lot of them. They even had an entire second room filled with them as well. They had some busts as well, like this bust of Socrates. And they also had a replica of the Venus de Milo, which I thought was funny because they just had her shoved in a corner somewhere. This piece I learned about in my art history class. It's the Tombstone of Helgeso, and that was really cool to see in person. And they had tons of these jars, craters, and amphoras, which I've always had a soft spot for. I think they're beautiful, which led to my favorite sculpture of the day, Boy with Goose. To end off the tour, they had a 3D aerial view of the city of Athens, which I thought was really cool because if you look closely, you can see the Acropolis and the Colosseum. But that pretty much sums up my trip to the Spurlock Museum. Thanks for watching.